Hey guys, and welcome back. This is bimzycodes. Today we're going to be going over scoring and obstacles for our game. The first thing we're going to want to do is create a way for the player to track his score and his lives. So to do this, let's go into our scripts folder, right click, and create the player script. So let's just call this one player. We'll go ahead and just drag this one onto the player game object. Can't drag it on while compiling. Alright. Drag it onto the player game object, and let's double click this one to jump into the script. So let's go ahead and create our variables. So first we're going to want to create a public integer, and let's call this one lives, and set that to a default value of 3. I think that's pretty good. And we'll also create a public integer score and set that one to 0. Now if we jump back into the Unity scene, we'll be able to take a look at those in game. Now when we click our player, we can see lives is equal to 3 and score is equal to 0. Jumping back into the code, let's take a look at our droppable destroyer class. So we just want to copy this onTriggerEnter method because it wants to have the same functionality as the droppable destroyer. So this basically says when the droppable object collides with the player, we want to destroy that droppable object. However, before we destroy it, we want to grab its component. So let's say droppable, and this is where we're going to do our checks for adding score to the player and also reducing his lives. So we're going to create a droppable equals other dot get component droppable. So we're grabbing this droppable component, so this script that we've attached to each of our droppable game objects, and we're grabbing it off of the one that's collided with the player, and now what we're going to do with it is we're going to check if this droppable is obstacle. If it is an obstacle, we're going to want to reduce 1 life from the player, so let's do lives equals lives minus 1. Now this notation here for lives equals lives minus 1, we can simplify this to lives minus equals 1. So let's do minus equals 1, which we can then simplify further to lives minus minus. All of these lines of code do the same thing. This is just an easier way of writing it out. So minus minus just means minus 1 essentially. So let's remove these 2 lines here. So this piece of code will detect if it's an obstacle. If it is, we're going to reduce 1 life from the player. And let's just say, do another check over here. If lives is less than or equal to 0, we want to just say game over, which we'll get to in another tutorial. Now else, if it's not an obstacle, we want to be giving this, we want to be incrementing the player's score. So let's do score. Now we can use a similar notation as before. Plus equals is essentially adding whatever value comes after this operator to this score variable. So let's do plus equals the droppable, and then the score that we've attached to that droppable. Now jumping back into the game, this should work for us. So as you can see now when we play our game, and let's grab this one, we destroy that, and we quickly grabbed that last one as it was falling. If we click our player here, we can see that our player's score is 35. So it seems to be working correctly. Just to demonstrate a little bit easier, I'm actually going to clone out these droppables, and we're just going to move a few more up so that we've got a few more elements falling from the sky. Let's put another one here and another one here. In a future tutorial, we're going to be generating these randomly, so we've actually got proper game mechanics, and we're going to be dodging, and we're not going to know where the obstacles are going to be coming from. So that'll be pretty cool, but for now, this will have to do. Alright, so we've got a few obstacles to dodge here. So if we want to run that one again, so let's grab 2 of these, or just 1, I guess. And we can see they're all falling at different speeds, so it's sort of like grabbing as much score as possible. Alright, so let's click the player before we get out, and we're on 2 lives. So that seems to be working perfectly. Alright, thanks for following along with this tutorial. It's been a short one. In the next lesson, we're going to go through difficulty progression and make this game actually feel like a game. Thanks for watching.